people are starting to worry about like 2008 style rehypothecation, because you take the points and you restake them, but you're just wrapping, and like there is like an economic security of Ethereum at the very bottom. But if any part of this chain breaks, there could be like, these like holes left in different balance sheets all over the place. And so, I mean, there are people starting to want to do perps and leverage on restaking yields, stuff like that. Definitely reminds me of some of the scenes in The Big Short.
I think theoretically it's not good and it adds another risk to Ethereum, but at the end of the day, like they can just roll back the chain, and they probably would have to.
I feel like a lot of people love to talk about this 2008 style crash that's going to happen in 2025 that's going to destroy the bull market, but I feel like there's also this element that people love to talk about it to claim clout.
Steady, lads. Deploying more capital.
I think a crash is bullish, and I welcome it.
Welcome, everybody. Episode 29 of Steady Lads. I'm Jordy, the founder of Selene and also the chief alchemist at Mantle. We have Taiki with us, half sunburned, half spectacled. So he's kind of like in a intermediate state right now. We have Taiki, the founder of HFA. We found out that this means the Humble Farmer Army, apparently. So pretty cool name. And Justin is... Are you with us, or are you in a different room, Justin? Like, what are you actually?
I'm in the metaverse right now. I've got you guys down here. I've got my messages up there. I've got the charts up to the left here, and I'm just vibing, testing this thing out.
Have you taken it off, or are you just like wearing this 24/7?
I'm gonna be honest. This thing you can't really wear, for me at least. After 30 minutes, you just want to take it off. It's super heavy. It hurts the cheekbones. Your eyes are gonna bleed in this thing. It's just not. It's a very impressive tech, but it's not necessarily there yet. I'll say that, but it's very cool. There's some neat stuff.
I think our viewers like appreciate that you're always got the latest gadgets. I don't know if can you use your like Solana phone on top of can you combine them and
You're very much forced to stay in the Apple walled garden with these things. So maybe if the Saga 2, maybe they'll have some connectivity there. But no, very much stuck in the Apple universe. And like I always said, you got to try everything. You never know. You might get an airdrop for this. Who knows?
airdrop. I saw Beeple was not very happy with the product. He wrote a long post describing how it should just be glasses and this is too clunky and this is the wrong direction. And then 10 minutes later he posted a Beeple daily with snake and his Drake and his snake. So that guy's doing him. But do you agree with the criticism? Do you think that this product is a user-friendly product?
I do think it has some clear applications, like watching 3D movies is awesome. Some of the gaming stuff is super cool. It's going to be something we all use 8 hours a day. And, in 10 years, surely we'll all have some version of this on 8 hours a day. But the form factor right now is not, conducive to a good user experience. It has to get down in size, of course. But you can tell that this is going to be the future. I mean, what they've been able to achieve right now is still quite incredible. And I'm excited they're doing something new. I'm excited to see where this thing is at in 5 years, 10 years. And I think I'll probably get every version of it every year when they release a new one. I'll probably upgrade because it is good. And I'm excited to see what they do with it next.
I mean, it's all about the apps, I guess. So like, Thicky, do you think there's going to be like a trading terminal where you get the charts up and you have like the tweets coming out and like the alert updates?
I hope so. I feel like I spend most of my life just like when I'm trading on my phone, I'm just like looking with my neck down. It's terrible for my posture. So I feel like, this would be a good lifestyle upgrade.
I don't think this is going to be better for your lifestyle or posture. I think this is really going to hurt your eyes and break your neck. So if you have neck problems, this thing's going to snap it off. But I got to take this thing off. It's already too long.
Taiki, do you think this is bullish NFTs? Like, are people going to start getting more attached to their NFTs or AI waifu girlfriends, or what do you think it means?
I'm bullish. So this is unconfirmed, but apparently like Apple has gated like porn from those goggles. So I think I literally just thought of this, but I'm kind of bullish. Like porn, right? Decentralized porn, where anyone can access any types of content without having to go through, I guess, like Web 2 rails. And crypto fixes this, maybe. Just being honest, maybe.
Pretty soon, Taiki's going to be like shilling, like on the one hand, Canto real world assets, and on the other hand, it's going to be like Deepborn. It's going to be like the barbell strategy from Taiki.
No. Like,
wait, speaking of Canto, like, what was going on in Canto?
I took a loss. My thesis was invalidated, and I took a loss.
I think it's been down only.
You talked about like deep porn. I think that's going to be like L porn if you bring up the Canto chart.
I don't know if I could do that to him.
I don't think I can do that to him. Justin took one look at the chart.
Funny because like last week I made a video saying that like, hey, I was wrong on this, and then like I had multiple people reach out to me and they're like, yeah, like Taiki, that video reminded me of the Jim Cramer CNBC clip when like Meta hit $100 and he was crying on TV. He was like publicly apologizing. He's like, I trusted the management team, I was wrong, and that was like the peak of bottom.
I trusted the management team.
What's going to happen if it like shoots back up, Taiki? I mean, Meta's back at like 500, right? Like I saw the run up, like just at such an incredible bounce back. What if happens if like, you sold Canto at the low and it rips back up? How are you going to feel?
Then, it just happens. I just have to, I had a thesis, it got invalidated. Like, so I just have to cut, like I just have to stick to my rules and deal with the consequences. I'm already getting trolled everywhere. It's
yeah, it's brutal.
But I did this to myself, so I can't really. I did this to myself. I can't really, fault anyone. It is what it is.
Taiki loves the pain.
We need to be buying Taiki's liquidation. That's like that's right. That's like the last seller.
Well, Taiki, didn't the core contributors say they're done with the project and decentralizing to the community, or what actually happened there? What caused it to finally sort of capitulate?
I mean, I'm sure there's like no one reason, but I guess like the real world asset thesis is where the adoption's been slow. I think one of the X contributors are selling. I think some fund is also selling, and then it's like pretty low market cap, I guess. So there's a lot of price impact, and then typical mid curve Taiki just selling the lows, just adding to the damage.
I mean, the swings in crypto, they're so reflexive and so extreme. The one that stands out for me, like actually, is CowSwap, because it did this round during the bull market. I think it was at like $1 on the private round, and token launches, and in the bear market it just went to 5 cents, which just seems pretty extreme because they were still doing everything that they said they were going to do. Pretty good bounce off the bottom of that one. So hopefully for the Canto crew, what are the Cantonese, like what's their name? Taiki?
The Canto Cantaloupes, obviously.
I don't think we have a name. I don't think we deserve a name.
What do you mean we? You abandoned the ship, man. You can't be me anymore. It's over.
Well, it's over. Fuck. No, what have I done?
Sometimes when I hired traders from like other firms, they've been there for like 5 years and they come from like Jump or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, this is how we do things. I'm like, no. There's no we anymore. There's a new we now. You got to adapt, Taiki.
Yeah. I have to adapt now. Now I'm a Dymension Diamond Hands. That's the new tribe.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the the latest and greatest. So Dymension was the most hyped. Is that fair to say it was the most hyped TIA airdrop?
Yeah. Well, this is the first airdrop to like actually hit people, so it is the most hyped because it is the first. But in the modular stack, like Dymension is trying to be the settlement layer. So, TIA for data availability, Dymension for settlement, and then all the rollups for execution. So it's kind of competing with the ETH scaling roadmap in that sense. So it's kind of like that narrative is taking over, and then staking it for airdrops potentially.
Yeah, good narrative. The other narrative is like chains going down, bullish. Nobody can sell tokens. So let's talk a little bit about what we saw this week. So quite a strange day. Solana went down for the first time in a couple of years, right? I think the last time was during a bull market, and somehow on the same day, the launch of this long-awaited coin, and somehow that also like the chain was like not working as well, and people couldn't actually move coins around. So is like Are we back to like, beta tech is bullish because it's not finished yet and it's going to get better? Or how is the market behaving, Thicky?
So Solana's had like 8 or 9 outages last year in 2022 and 2020, mostly in 2022. And for the most part, like those didn't really move the price too much. I do think these things like aren't really short-term price movers, but like longer term, they do affect the narrative about like who allocates and things like that. And it is quite unfortunate to see because like they'd gone like a really long stretch before going down.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this like rotation into new coins. So we had like a few last week. We had Zeta, for example, come out, and then Dymension comes out. It seems like there is still enough money in the system to pump all of these things. I was a little bit surprised that Dymension has been like ripping up pretty substantially. Do you think like Taiki that people are getting bullish TIA because they're thinking like, oh, there's going to be more of these and they're going to pay for my entire bag? Or you're in that space, like what's actually happening?
Yeah, I mean that's definitely the narrative, and I mentioned this like a couple of months ago on like this podcast, but it's like the narrative is like the valuation of TIA doesn't really matter because the airdrops will pay for the position, and then it's kind of like this 3-3 narrative where people are willing to pay whatever price, just because if you're early enough, then you'll get enough tokens. Like my Dymension airdrop is like more than paid for like my TIA position, so like if you have like this type of story going, then the community just becomes even more diamond handed, and like we kind of have like this cult community forming.
And are you holding the Dymension airdrop or are you selling it?
I'm like for all the other airdrops in the future, I'll probably just have like a plan to sell. But for Dymension specifically, I'm not gonna sell. I mean, I even launched a validator for Dymension.
Oh, right.
So I'm like actually bullish like this project. But like alt layer, I'll probably dump close to EigenLayer launch. All the other airdrops, I'll like just nuke it. But for Dymension, I'm staking because like the narrative is stake dying for airdrops.
Yeah. Do you like this narrative, Justin? Like this seems to be the new meta. It's you stake, you get airdrops, and then people just airdrop to each other, and everyone's just bullish because Pith is airdropping
Yeah.
to those guys, and Wormhole's airdropping to Pith, and then the next guy is airdropping. So are we just gonna airdrop to each other and play this game, or?
I'm happy for people that make money in airdrops. I've had like a ton of success with them, and it's like the best part of my day when you wake up and you see a new airdrop in your wallet and you get to sell it to ETH or do whatever you want with it. One thing I'll say that's sort of ruining this for everybody is that all of the projects airdropping are now rewarding Sibblers with very outsized gains and not rewarding normal people that just use one account. Like we've talked about EigenLayer staking for a while now. About a year ago, maybe, or 6 months ago, 7 months ago, when I opened up and I used it, I made only one account and put all of my staked ETH in one account because I was like, oh, these are points, I'll just get one for one. It doesn't matter. I don't have to Sybil this. But I have a pretty strong feeling just based on what we're seeing in the past and, the large whales that now have outsized shares of points in EigenLayer that they're going to end up sort of flattening out that distribution, which is pretty frustrating. And it makes me less likely to participate in this airdrop farming mechanic. So I've staked Celestia, but I'm not going to do the whole thing where I do a bunch of different accounts, even though that's probably like the better EV play.
You're not going to get a ticket on Sisyphus Airlines? That's what you're saying?
Exactly. It's just not a system I agree with. It's so silly that we would reward Sibblers when it's so transparent and obvious that this is happening and people are staking like peanuts of dollars of amounts. Like we should have a better system.
I want to give the viewers and the listeners a little bit of deeper insight into this. It is quite important. So Taiki, if you can bring up the great tweet by Evan who did some of the math. Look, he says, should it be linear or sublinear? And he has a kind of scale. He thinks 1 to 2 maybe it's okay, and then 100 to 1,000 of Sybil, it's like insider crime. He calls it. He actually did calculate for some of the airdrops recently what the ratio is if you had broken it up into 100 wallets. If you had 100 Sol and you had 100 wallets, that's the multiple that he's talking about. So breaking it down into the smallest pieces versus just having it in one wallet. And in many of these cases, here we see about Dymension. He said if you stake 1,000 Dymension, you're getting $9,000. If you stake the same 1,000 but one per account, you get $1,290,000. How is this real life, guys? Like, how is this real life? And obviously, it just suits people who are not retail users, right? It suits people who are just printing wallets with some farm.
Well, it's interesting. They're presumably their goal is, we don't want to give outsized returns to larger whales. We want to give it to the quote unquote real users who only have, let's say, $1,000 in their account, which is obviously like a very noble goal. It's better for the distribution. It's better for the community. It's a nice thing to do. But the issue is, I don't think that's what's happening. I don't think they're actually rewarding the real people. I think they're rewarding the people that are just willing to Sybil attack these things and that have the sophistication to do it in an automated way. So I think you're sort of losing in both dimensions when you do it this way, and it should just be linear.
Yeah, I agree. I think the people who are doing this are the ones actually most likely to sell. And the whales, they're actually not very likely to sell. Like, they don't need to sell. They have, a ton of ETH or SOL, whatever they're using, the TIA, whatever they're farming. And compared to the Sibylers, whale is better than Sibylers. That's how I see it.
Yeah, there's like a saying, right? Like, show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome. And like, I was like, okay, like this is gonna happen regardless, so I'm gonna Sybil, right? That was kind of my mentality. I do think it should be linear, and then maybe like diminishing returns at some extent.
If you Sybil, like, is there a risk to go like too small? Like, if you break it into like, instead of 1 TIA, you break it into like 0.5 TIA, and then like you just get 0 because they cut you off. Like, you don't really know, right?
Yeah, that's why I'm like hedging. Like, I have different like amounts, like.
The interesting thing is, like, the counter side of this argument is actually something you brought up in an earlier thread, Jordy. I think you were talking about the DYDX airdrop, where like people got like hundreds of thousands, if not a million, and you're like, at a certain point, like if you give someone over $100,000 at airdrop, like they just have to sell it. Like, there's a cap on how much you give someone. It's like, how do you reconcile like, oh, like I can't give the whales too much because then it just automatically gets sold, but I also like I can't incentivize these tiny guys just to split up wallets, because I still need to give away a certain amount of the token.
It's a tough pickle. Hopefully we'll see. I mean, Jordy, you're Mr. Game Theorizing. Hopefully you can come up with something different. But I do want to say one last thing to the audience. This is like a position where you can either be right or you can make money. And I was giving you what I think is the right answer, but Taiki is like thinking about it in the way that we should all be operating. Like, if you want to make money, you should probably Sybil these things, honestly.
Yeah, and there's also like the PR element, like the social layer, right? Where like if a project is like you have to stake at least $5,000 of a token to get the airdrop, then that's like a PR nightmare, right? So I feel like projects that the highest they can go is probably like $1,000 or something, but that's still gonna get Sybils to like Sybil accounts. So there's like no perfect solution. So I think a linear process makes sense, but it's up to the team, right, to design these things.
The one thing that I like quite a bit is the airdrops to NFT collections. So we've seen Pudgies and Mad Lads be like the top 2 favorite collections for getting airdrops, and you just get the same per NFT, and the whole community is together, and you're actually targeting community. I think those are the best, and that's why I bought my Mad Lads. Hopefully, some insider alpha, but I've looked at some of the accounts of the Wormhole, COOs and stuff, and I see a lot of skulls and Mad Lads in there. So they announced that the ticker is W. It's going to be epic. That's like the baller ticker. It's the single, like, just W. I think it's going to be the first one in the top 100 with a single letter. Hopefully some good stuff there. But even for NFTs, I've seen that some people who had multiple NFTs, like they had a Pudgy and like a Mad Lads, or they had a few together, they still get like penalized. Like, you need to hold your 5 Pudgies in 5 different wallets, which is not very cool.
Yeah, it's really impossible for teams to like do it perfectly. Like, no matter what they do, people will be pissed. So yeah, there's no perfect way to airdrop, but yeah, like it's always best to Sybil if you're just trying to maximize profits. Do you guys like know when the Wormhole airdrop's happening? I heard Starkware is happening like this month. I don't know about Wormhole.
Yeah, I think it's gonna probably be Starkware first, Wormhole, maybe next month, given they just announced the ticker. It takes a while after that to move on. So that's the approximate timelines. We obviously, we're still in the afterglow, or depending on how you experienced it. We talked about Jupiter last time, so we're a week away now. I would say there's not many people talking about it anymore. It was like the topic of the first days. There was a lot of podcasts done by the founder and trying to explain, the sell side liquidity, buy side, and he's not rugging. And Thicky, can you maybe you've been keeping a close eye on this? Can you tell us a little bit about that Jupiter situation?
Yeah, so the Jupe team is supposed to pull their team liquidity yesterday. I think they would have realized around $70 million of Jupe sales of the fiat. But I think because of all the community backlash, they decided to pull the ask side liquidity first and then like gradually pull the bid side liquidity. I think it was something around $10 million a week or something. So that it would get pulled over the course of 2 months. So yeah, this is what liquidity pool looks like right now. There still is some liquidity on the bid and a lot less on the ask. After it happened, like Jupe pumped maybe like 12%, 13% or something, but it's like come back down. But yeah, that's like the status of this.
Yeah, I mean, is it fair to say that like it hasn't been like a wholly successful launch? I mean, even when you're defending and you're in that position and you're making changes and like having to be defensive and like, is that already like a sign that something went wrong, or what's the impression that you guys have?
My personal impression was that the Jupe team had a lot of community. Price is still pretty good. I thought the Jupe team had a lot of community goodwill, like not raised from VCs and having like built just for a long time heads down without any intention of sort of launching a token. But this has definitely hurt their brand and their image on like sort of like perceived griftiness. CT will probably forget in like a few weeks, but yeah, this in the short term, it's not a good sentiment, I think, on Jupe.
I mean, it's clear the team is they're grinders. They were grinding with no money during the bear market. So now that they have a war chest, I'm sure they will be trying to keep building. And I do think it's a little bit like Trump when he lost and like lost a little bit of the aura that some of his fans had. When you take like even if it's like not a huge kind of like loss or swipe, it does change the aura of perfection that you had before. And the launch pad, I have to say, like I don't think it was very well designed. From a game theory standpoint, this is really not how I would have gone about it. I know Evan, we brought him up about the Sibblers. He was also quite critical, and I share some of the criticisms. I'll see how I express it to Meow. Maybe I think I'm supposed to be in a panel with him next week or something. But I do think about this stuff a lot. There's lessons to learn, and yeah, I think we'll have better mechanics than doing these type of pools.
Isn't there also some hindsight analysis where if the token pumps, then everyone's gonna be happy, right? Only because the token's kind of down. It's like, oh, like it's a flawed mechanism, flawed design, team is grifting. But if the token went up, maybe if they started at a lower price, then everyone's gonna be, like just euphoric. So there's also that element.
I mean, to be clear, it's at $5.5 billion for an app that barely existed a year ago, right? So it's all relative, it's all expectations. And just because he set the upper bound at 7-8 billion, and we're at 5.5 billion, maybe the name of the game is like make sure that you exceed your expectations, and just like the perception that 5.5 is actually an amazing outcome. It's not down. This is incredible. So it's all about your point of view, I guess.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, for sure, like 5.5 billion, excellent valuation. I shared something in the Steady Lads chat if one of you wants to pull it up, but I did an analysis on like just how new launches this past cycle have done, like the big ones that have launched above a billion FTV, and it's quite interesting to see how like consistent the bleed is after 30 days after launch. So we analyzed around like 10 launches, and like there is like an airdrop fractal where like the first day or two, like on average, I think pumps maybe 20, 30, 40%. But like after that pump sort of hits and like peak attention, peak hype subsides, like there's a really consistent bleed down across all these names we've looked at.
Wow, Ace. What happened to Ace? Just
got cantoed.
Thinky, was this inspired? Was this inspired by the chart I had showed last week or the week before about the like prime time to sell airdrops? Is that why you made this, or is this just something you've been tracking?
I think that was a factor. Yeah, for
So
sure. I've been
I'll
trading
take
a lot of
that
these new launches. Yeah, partially inspired by Justin. Yes.
I see you don't have Tia on the list, and Tia just kind of keep grinding to this all time high. I guess like that one's at 1,000% change because I remember it was trading for $2. Um,
Can I ask you a question about this, Sticky? When you're actively looking to put on a trade, are you going to like take this information into consideration? Like basically here, if you just short anything on the second or third day after its launch, you're going to obviously lose in some cases, but on average, you'll theoretically win. Is that something you would consider trading on, or is this just, background information?
So yeah, we talked about this last week. I think you kind of just long like the newest launch, and then when the next newest launch comes, you just short the launch and then buy the next launch. So like just like constantly rotating and front running other people's rotations.
Interesting.
I think these are like kind of Bayesian topics, Bayesian probability, conditional, like conditional that it's new launch and you're on the second day. It skews probabilities, but I don't think that you would always, short at that time. It just kind of changes your priors a little bit. But not to get too technical, I did want to touch on, not exactly TIA, but EigenLayer. I saw some people, I think maybe Taiki, you had a tweet out. There's been tweets out, asking people, which one do you think is going to trade at a higher valuation, like TIA or EigenLayer? And I saw the polls that had a lot of responses was around 2/3 EigenLayer. So I think the public perception is that it's a more complete suite of products. It's not just state availability focused, and it's a little bit larger, and also, there is a proof of TVL at this point. So, the big topic of this week has been a little bit of a kind of rotation into ETH in order to then restake, because the window opened on February 5th. And boy, did they restake. I mean, let's try to bring up the dashboard. Yeah, here we go. So TVL 2.1 million ETH. Not shabby. I think that is, we're talking about $5.1 billion. Yeah, it's got at the time of recording, it's still open for a little bit longer. We see quite a lot of different types of ETH are available to be staked here. I see my biased Mantle staked ETH. There's 180,000, of which 100,000 from the treasury. So some airdrops coming to meth holders. I had to put that in there because there's somebody in our comments that said last time, can we get through one episode without Jordy shilling meth? And the answer is no. If you're watching Steady Lads, you'll get at least 10 seconds of a meth shill.
But you'll thank Jordy later, right? They're going to be thankful later.
They will thank me later. We did crack 1 billion, so not too bad for meth itself. Now it's quickly establishing 10-figure floor now. But people are very bullish EigenLayer. They think it's going to be even bigger than TIA. We're seeing TIA trade at 20 billion FDV. So Justin, you were talking last time that you've been farming EigenLayer points, from very early on. Is this 5 billion mean that there's going to be a lot of dilution of the points, or at this point, is it still worth it?
Yeah, there's obviously been huge dilution incoming. Tough to say if it's still worth it. I would say yes, because if you're holding staked ETH anyway, this seems like a decent enough place to put it, and you have decent enough security guarantees. But the real point of being early was that you were getting just such an outsized share of points versus what you would be getting now. And so, if you got in 6 months ago, you'd have a much higher restake ratio than if you just enter now. That said, actually, I didn't know it was still open. Probably after this call, I'll put some more in, maybe on the Mantle side too. So we'll see. But yeah, I think it's still a viable place to be.
There's an interesting mechanic as well that's happening right now, which is like people are betting on the size of the value of the points, and it's all over the place. And basically, some apps like Pendle have just completely blown up as a vehicle to speculate on the price of what this airdrop is going to be worth. Because in essence, you have two sides. You have the people that are very bullish and they're just trying to accumulate as much as they can. So they're buying these like points in essence. And then you have somebody else who just has ETH and they're being offered, 30% APY. I mean, Taiki, you're the farmer. Have you been tempted by either side of this trade, or do you think it's fairly priced at this point? I'm seeing like EtherFi and Pendle kind of have this marriage that has driven up TVL a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Justin, if you can pull up my screen, I just have the TVL on Pendle, and it's insane. I mean, I guess I could kind of zoom in on like the recent growth, but I mean, it's been literally up only since at the beginning of the year. We had like quarter of a billion, and now it's basically at a billion. And if you think about from a degen's point of view, right, it's like you stake your ETH, and then you restake your ETH, and then there's all these liquid restaking options, which is all also offering points. So if you wanted to earn yield on top of yield on top of yield, then yeah, like why not liquid restake your ETH, then LP on Pendle to receive Pendle emissions, yield like from people trading, and this is definitely like positive for I think for EigenLayer. I think TIA trading at 20 billion, that's also good for EigenLayer. Right? I mean, from like an ETH maxis perspective, you also kind of want TIA to like just keep going up because it also pushes up the implied val of EigenLayer, which I think
You
will
hear that,
also
Jordy?
create some mass wealth effect. you,
Yeah.
why do you say that, Taiki? Why do you say that?
I don't know. It seems like Jody doesn't not a believer of the.
In the TIA, yeah.
Are you getting squeezed?
No, thankfully not. But I have to say, 20 billion seems a little bit premature. Not sure how sustainable. And I think the main thing is what we've talked in the past, that like once these like prime airdrops of like Dymension and things are in the past, you have to actually like subtract that out of the valuation. So if a big part of the TIA valuation was like getting these like early prime airdrops, those are gone. So what happens after that? I don't know.
Like a dividend.
Dividends.
Also, is it fair to say that TIA no longer benefits from new coin good? It's an old coin, right? Like it's a 2023 story. Does it still have that benefit and that tailwind, Thicky?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into it. I will say that like back in December, Taiki was hedged his TIA. It was at $12, and I said I was shorting it, and now it's up 50% from there. And I'm still hedged to my TIA, paying 60% a year in funding. Trying to get out of it. So I was definitely the sucker on that trade.
Ouch.
Yeah, and it's not even an old coin. It came out in November, like three months ago. So maybe crypto degens have such little attention spans.
Yeah, new coins are like 1 or 2 weeks.
I guess so.
Yeah. So I mean, with the other thing is like I've been seeing some of my chats. People are starting to worry about like 2008 style rehypothecation, because a lot of these, puffer and like you go to Pendle and you take the points and you restake them, but you're just wrapping, and like there is like an economic security of Ethereum at the very bottom. But if any part of this chain breaks, there could be like these like holes left in different balance sheets all over the place. And I don't think we're quite there yet. I haven't seen anything that's like made my heart stop in terms of big risk. But I can see that we're getting close. I mean, there are people starting to want to do perps and leverage on restaking yields, stuff like that. Definitely reminds me of some of the scenes in The Big Short. Are any of you guys worried at all, or is it just some of my TradFi chats?
I think from an intellectual or theoretical perspective, it is worrisome, but I think, they talk a lot about the social layer. The fact of the matter is, I think even at this point, like even if EigenLayer got exploited, they'd probably have to roll back the chain. I mean, that's like $5+ billion of ETH. No one wants to talk about that, but like, are you going to let one exploiter hold all that ETH? And it's not even large yet, right? Like imagine if staked ETH is much more of a risk, right? Staked ETH is a huge percentage of the network. We'd have to roll back the chain if it got, critically exploited. So I think theoretically it's not good and it adds another risk to Ethereum. But at the end of the day, like they can just roll back the chain, and they probably would have to.
I'm not sure they would roll back, to be honest. I think Vitalik has been pretty adamant about it.
But what about for staked ETH? Like at that size, 20% of all ETH, let's say, or sorry, 10% of all ETH.
I think it would be more of a shit show, because the reality is the underlying ETH is in the validator's hands, and it takes days to unstake. And you would have time to like freeze contracts and do all kinds of stuff. It would be messy, but I don't think it would be like a complete loss of that amount. And so it would just be like holes in certain people's balance sheets, and certain liquidity pools will obviously get drained. Things will move on. We've seen worse.
I feel like a lot of people love to talk about this 2008 style crash that's going to happen in 2025 that's going to destroy the bull market. But I feel like there's also this element that people love to talk about it to claim clout, but I think it's you can't have to bet on the team to like manage risk and whatnot. But maybe I'm just putting too much faith on, I guess, like the degens and like EigenLayer.
Steady, lads. Deploying more capital.
I think a crash is bullish, and I welcome it.
You know, the one thing I was thinking the other day though is like there is like a little bit of a redemption. At least High Stakes Cap was saying others are leaving FTX and I'm depositing more. I was looking at the claims and they're starting to trade at 80%. So depending on if you held crypto or dollars, maybe it's not so bad and things can move on. Cool. Let's move on to our past of the week segment. I have mine ready. I don't know about you guys.
Kick us off, Jordy.
I have a tweet by Kyle Davies. So 3AC comeback. This was I like it when people make fun of themselves and kind of like play with what's going on with the FUD. But he's saying Ox is back at the OpenX MSM FUD level. If we can reclaim the prison resistance, there's a nice gap in the TA. So just this might be my favorite chart. I know we had Andre on, and Andre was like painting the charts on the skylines and stuff, but talking about like prison resistance and kind of making light of some of these situations. Well played to Kyle. And I think what OpenX is doing is pretty degen. They have like this new thing where you're able to trade perps, and instead of being USDT perps, they're denominated in Ox, I think. So your leverage is like moving in fluctuation with the coin. So if the coin goes down, you get liquidated even if you're right in the position, and then reverse. I don't know. It's pretty crazy. Maybe we need to get Suzu on. I see he's starting to do podcasts. So maybe we'll try to get him on in the next week or two, explain to us what's going on, and maybe give us some of these prison stories that we've been hearing about.
Is anyone long this coin?
I went into the Telegram chat, and there's a community there. I don't know what kind of.
I can go next. I have 2 entries, but I'm only going to do one because I've sort of been cheating by submitting too many entries. So I've got here a video. It's of a Chinese influencer. Apparently, she only spends like less than 2 seconds showing each product and makes like $7 million a day doing it. And the caption is Ansem tweeting out meme coin tickers. As someone that's not like following too closely on the Solana meme coin space, this is like very much what it looks like from the outside of like, oh, new coin good, move it along. 1 day later, new coin good, move it along. And he and everyone else doing that whole thing is just printing capital now. So I thought that was good fun.
It's not only impressive how quickly she is like flipping them, but also I imagine like the devs that are giving her the new product, they're just shipping so quickly as well. I mean, that's also very impressive. The off-camera heroes.
Yeah, I'll defend Ansem. I don't think he's like a pump and dumper. I think he's just a prolific bull poster.
For sure.
Yeah.
Taiki, I have yours up. Do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So this really hit a chord with me just because I'm also a farmer / airdrop farmer. And this is from Rain. Final words to my family, and it's this old guy. Don't forget to go into my Leap wallet and unstake my TIA. That's going to take 21 days. Also, don't forget to unstake your ETH or my ETH from EigenLayer. That's going to take 7 days. Then head over to Manta. You have to withdraw my USDC and ETH after it gets repegged. Then go over to Hyperliquid. And it's like this constant, I like portfolio management of just like having to deal with all these positions. There's like this 7 or 21 day unbond or unstaking period, and I also thought to myself, like, if I'm ever like in a situation where I'm gonna die, like I don't even know what I'm gonna tell like my family and like my partner and what stuff. Like what, they're gonna have no idea what to do. And
dude, I feel this completely. Like, back in DeFi summer days, you just ape into like some simple Uni V2 style farm and like you could go in and out whenever you want, not worry about it too much. But now you need like a spreadsheet tracking your unlock days, what platforms you're at, Zapper links, multiple wallets to Sybil attack. It's getting out of hand.
Yeah, but we're in the trenches. This is what it takes.
Yeah, I mean, just like as AI is taking away certain jobs, I think there's going to be new jobs for like online DeFi degens that work at liquidation services for people who, their will requires somebody to go into their wallets and unstake and go to different bridges and get all their coins. I mean, this is where we're heading, right? Like there will be a job for somebody to.
I'm hiring for that.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to do that for me, like let me know.
I know a fund that like literally hired someone just to airdrop farm. I mean, why wouldn't they, right?
Most
It's
funds
profitable.
most funds have a person that does that.
Well, what's the model? You get like the worker gets like 5% of the return or something like that, commission base, or
I think they just get paid salary. And the issue with these liquid funds, they have so much capital, and like, the airdrop farm is a good way to get like 30, 40, 50% on it. Like it's like free. You just have to like go on their Discord, stick around, and then like put the capital in.
So Thicky, we've had pretty strong entrance. I don't know. Do you have anything that's going to be up to scratch? Let's see.
Mine is a tweet by Jordy. I just love this. I just love this face. Every time I see it, I just cackle. You gotta scroll out to the face. His face is so funny. How many takes did it take you to make that face? I'm curious.
I think 3 takes.
No, this is just an organic picture Jordy had posted to Instagram, and he rehypothecated it for his meth meme.
He always looks like that.
This was one of the contestants in the meme contest actually made this. I did not make this. I made the original version. I think it was like 6 months ago, and it was around the Balaji time, and I said they don't know that Bitcoin is going to $1 million. So that was a very successful shit post at the time, but somebody used it for the contest. So, I have to say, Thicky, you did not disappoint.
Yeah,
that's the strategy. That's the strategy.
Okay, fine. I think Justin's was strong. Taiki's also strong.
I'm learning, you guys. And might I say, I think going forward, we should also allow entries from Warpcast or whatever the thingy is called that everyone's moving to.
The Farcaster.
Farcaster, yeah.
Has anyone used it or no?
I use it all the time. Most of crypto Twitter has moved over, actually. You got to try everything, you guys. There's going to be a big airdrop.
Use the new thing. I mean, it's a default, yes.
There's going to be an airdrop.
All the devs moved over.
Yeah.
So is the coin degen like officially the coin of this thing, or is just like I heard it's like a meme coin? It's just vaguely associated, or is there any usage of degen?
I've not actually heard of that. I know there's no official coin yet, though.
I think it's the meme coin that's on base that people are just speculating on.
Okay. Well, Justin will get rich off of some degen airdrop.
Maybe we'll do a demo of Farcaster next week. There's an app. I'll show you guys the app. It'll be fun. Stay tuned.
I have heard it's mostly like, is it like Ethereum maxis that have moved over, or is it like a wide?
It is sort of maxi aligned, like, right, it's Ethereum aligned. So everyone that's involved in Ethereum is trying to like pitch this as the use case of why everyone should be using L2s and Base. But the truth of the matter is it's actually a good app. They actually did a good job with it. So we'll see if crypto Twitter as a whole migrates over. But basically all of your favorite Ethereum aligned people are all on there posting 24/7 and not posting on Twitter as much. But like, let's say the Solana community, I haven't seen them on there as much.
I mean, there's going to be some app that just posts on both at the same time, right? Like you connect the two and it just automatically.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I will say, like, credit to them. It's not just a Twitter or X fork. Like, they've actually added some new features. Like, they have communities in it. They have some cool stuff. Like, they actually did innovate.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I never like it when the liquidity gets fragmented in this way. I remember when Threads came out, and there was like a couple of weeks where people went there. But if it sticks and it's a good product, I'll definitely be willing to check this one out. It feels a little bit more organic this time.
Yeah. So who won, Jordy? You can be the judge.
I think Thicky. I'm kind of equal between.
You know what you got to do.
I can't even say anything. I'm on a win streak, so I don't know. I don't know what to say.
All right, Justin's was probably like a little bit more catchy. So Justin, you are on a win streak. You win again.
Well, the commenters can decide too.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for joining. We'll try to get a fun guest soon, and We will see you next week. Take care.